The open session.
No, I don't have anything. All right, so at this point, starting off, I don't have board president, I don't have anything to report. I will have something to bring up though during new business when we get to that. Report of the superintendent.
Because I have three things, and then I'm going to ask for a resolution in new business as well. First and foremost, this past week, in addition to the many of the wonderful things that take place in our schools this time of year, I would publicly like to thank the Korean Parent Group for hosting a luncheon both at Lindbergh and the Early Childhood Center. Tomorrow, there will be the same luncheon at the high school. The food is fantastic.
It's wonderful.
The parents, the grandparents really went above and beyond as they always do, and I am very appreciative of that.
Can I go tomorrow?
You need permission from the board, from the superintendent if you're gonna go, guys.
And you have to go through security.
Correct. Second, and this is also very important, I've been working with the County of Bergen. About a month ago, I attended a symposium at Biagio's restaurant, and it was on the whole stigma-free discussion that has really taken place in this county. Paramus was one of the first communities, because it is a community program, to go stigma-free. Not many people understood what it was, because driving through town, you only saw signs that said stigma-free. Well, Palisades Park, unfortunately, has yet to join the whole stigma-free movement. The high school has made a huge push to get our community stigma-free. I've met with county reps, we've submitted applications. I am very proud to mention tonight that we were awarded $4,000 at Palisades Park Junior Senior High School to award our students with regard to being a new stigma-free school, but we need the whole community involvement. I spoke to Frank Donahue, as we all know, as councilman and school principal. I believe he's going to go to the mayor and council with this program. I'm also looking at translations in 3 languages with this. We're gonna look to do this in Spanish, in Korean, and English. This is obviously something where we all should help each other a little bit more. And this is beyond the school day, the school year, but it's all of us working together for a great cause. I also want to recognize, as much as it's a real pain for many of people, but the 21st century, again, has been applauded as a exemplary model in the state of New Jersey. We are setting a standard. Many districts who have been awarded the $250,000 a year like we have been suggested to come visit Palisades Park, because the programs we offer to our children after school is what those schools should model. So again, kudos to everyone involved in that program. And finally, in new business, I do need a resolution. There's a new agreement with the State of New Jersey Attorney General's office when and if the police department is live streaming. Live streaming means we have video surveillance in our schools, and the police have an IP address to watch those feeds. There has to be a resolution between the Board of Ed and the police departments. I have met with Chief Jackson on numerous occasions. They have the feeds to our schools. It allows them to be more prepared in the event ever an emergency event happens. They can see what's happening on the inside. With that being said, I've talked to our board president, I've talked to our former board president who is here tonight. I am not someone who is reactive. I like to be proactive. Effective next Wednesday, I am asking any and all visitors to our schools to only come when and if they have appointments. That letter is going home tomorrow to all families. In the event a child forgot his or her lunch, there will be bins outside of each school. Even today, this afternoon, there was another shooting in another high school in the state of Florida. Guys, we have to be proactive. We have to stay ahead of these concerns. Obviously, if a child is sick, an illness, you don't need to make an appointment to pick up your child. But we need to minimize the number of visitors to our schools. So again, I ask, that's in conjunction with the police department, I ask the community to be more understanding of why I'm doing such a thing. Safety and well-being is our top priority, and it remains my #1 goal. Thank you.
Okay.
report of the attorney.
Yes, if I may. I only actually have one item to report. It has to do with continuing litigation. And I had spoken with the board. I would like to continue with the transition to have Mr. Bergerone be authorized to work up to an additional 15 to 17 hours to cover two cases that are currently in litigation, and both of which are at the hearing stage. I would need a resolution in new business to do that. I would also ask that it be authorized at the rate of $150 an hour. Other than that, I did want to extend formally to members of the board my thanks for selecting me to be your counsel, and I hope I'm worthy of the task. I'm certain if I'm not, you'll sure tell me.
You're most welcome, Lou.
Thank you.
Motion.
We have minutes to approve, December 20th, the special meeting, the reorganization meeting of January 10th, and the January 17th regular meeting. They were all emailed to us earlier.
Make a move. I make a motion.
Make a move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Move.
Any discussion on them? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Colvin?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Ms. Stephanie Jane?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think you have
Yeah, you have to abstain
abstain on
from
the
December
December
20th.
meeting.
December 7th.
Oh,
Abstain.
Are we okay on that? Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
said yes.
Jason then?
Stephanie say yes?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason?
Yeah.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Mr. Barnabas Wood?
Obtain on December 20,
Okay.
it's a meeting.
Jeffrey Wood?
Yes. All right, Mr. Matisich, the finance report, please.
The management resolutions. 17 resolutions. I received them today and I went over them. So I make a motion to accept on the consent agenda, 17 of them.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Anthony Rotundo?
Yes.
Paul Kim?
Yes.
Ken Bruno?
Yes.
Connie Wang?
Yes.
Stephanie Jane?
Yes.
Jason Kim?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Barnabas Wood?
Yes.
Jeffrey Wood?
Yes. All right, the buildings and grounds, Mr. King?
Yeah, so us, we have a 4 resolution to utilizing our facility. I make a motion to accept this.
I'll second. Any discussion? Before we go into roll call, I just wanted everyone to know that the Buildings and Grounds Committee did meet. We looked over the proposals by the different architects. It was my intention to make the appointment of the architect during this meeting. What we were able to do is narrow it down to 3, using the materials that they gave us, 3 architects that we would like to further consider. And we will be interviewing them, Jeffrey, do you remember the date, the 23rd, I believe?
Next.
Is it the
Next
23rd or the
Wednesday.
21st?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, the 21st. We'll be interviewing all 3 of them, and it is at that point that the Buildings and Grounds Committee will make a decision as to which one we want to go with, and it will then be voted on. So
Well,
I want to let you know
actually,
the
he's stepping over my authority.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm the chairperson. I supposed to report that. I was about to do that announcements on the new business, but
Oh.
since he
I'm sorry.
is saying it, I just have to say ditto. But we actually met, and as he said, and then we decide to have actually interview with 3 of the architectural firms that, and then we're gonna finally decide and then recommend to the board after that. We will have a meeting on next Wednesday. But thanks for the pre-hearing.
Okay, can we have roll call on the Buildings and Grounds resolutions?
Anthony Rotundo?
Yes.
Paul Kim?
Yes.
Ken Bruno?
Yes.
Connie Wang? Stephanie Jane?
Yes.
Jason Kim?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Barnabas Wood?
Yes.
Jeffrey Wood?
Yes. All right, the Personnel Committee, Mr. King?
Yes, before you, we have 8,
12 resolutions. Before I recommend to make a motion, I would like to state that, on behalf of the board, I would like to congratulate Stephanie Messina and Henny Lee for their pregnancy. We hope that she recovers really well and comes back to us real quick and continue her teaching with the students here. One other question that I want to ask was to the superintendent in concerns number 7. It seems like you gave Jillian, what is it? Vivanco, who was a vice principal, into the principal position.
Correct.
My question is, I know you're pretty good, but how did you make her take the principal without any increase in salary?
She has been running this building, as many of you know, without a principal in here. I think after 2 years, I will go on record and tell you she has proved her worth to this district, this community, and she is grateful for the opportunity. So it's my recommendation. I am not giving anything. I am recommending to the board, hopefully for your approval this evening.
No change in salary, that's really good. So I'd like to make a motion to approve all 12 resolutions.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Anthony Rotundo,
Yes.
Paul Kim,
Yes.
Ken Bruno,
Yes.
Connie Wang, Stephanie Jang, Jason Kim,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf,
Yes.
Jeffrey Wolf.
Yes.
Curriculum, Mr. Wu.
No report at this time.
Negotiations, Ms. Chang.
No report. Mine?
Okay. Ms. Wang, the policies.
There are 3 resolutions, one of which is a second reading of policy number 5131.1. Another, that's the first reading of policy number 6171.3. And a third, which is an updated bylaw, number 9322. I make a motion to
I think that we have the
consent on
motion
all
all
3.
separate.
I'll second.
At the second reading, we need a separate resolution, or can we do them all? If they're, yeah, it should be separate. If it's
Oh,
first reading
separate?
versus second
Okay.
reading.
I make a motion to move on, the first resolution,
Mhm.
the second reading of policy number 5131.1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Kenny Bruno.
Ken Bruno,
Okay.
Yeah, that was John.
John Madison.
One of those.
That was John.
Fast.
All right, any discussion on the second reading? Okay, roll call, please.
Anthony Rotundo.
Yes.
Paul Kim,
Yes.
Ken Bruno,
Yes.
Connie Wang,
Yes.
Stephanie Jang, Jason Kim,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf,
Yes.
Jeffrey Wolf.
Yes.
All right, now we need a motion for the first reading of policy 6171.3.
I make a motion.
Is that also a first reading? Because it says approves. Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so we'll be doing both resolutions 2 and 3, just so you guys know.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
Both resolutions. I'm sorry, who motioned?
I second it.
Connie Wang and Jeffrey. All right, any discussion on either of them? All right, roll call, please.
This is for number 2, right?
2 and 3, we're
Oh,
doing
2
both.
and 3, I'm sorry. 2. So that, Jeffrey, you did the second one,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. Anthony Rotundo,
Yes.
Paul Kim.
Yes.
Ken Bruno,
Yes.
Connie Wang,
Yes.
Stephanie Jang,
Yes.
Jason Kim,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
All right, and now we have the student activities and field trips. That's fine.
There are 7 field trips on the agenda. I make a motion to consent on 7.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Anthony Rotundo,
Yes.
Paul Kim,
Yes.
Ken Bruno,
Yes.
Connie Wang,
Yes.
Stephanie Jang,
Yes.
Jason Kim,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf.
Yes.
Jeffrey Wolf.
Yes.
All right, calendar and food services, Mr. Wu?
I have no report at this time.
Okay, and New Jersey School Board liaisons, Mr. Bruno?
No report.
Old business. now for new business.
Can I have a motion under new business for the memorandum of agreement with the Palisades Park Police Department on the live streaming of our
I'll make a motion for that.
I second.
the live streaming of the feed, the video surveillance with the police department. Jeffrey and Barnabas?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Barnabas first. Any discussion on it? All right, roll call, please.
Anthony Rotundo,
Yes.
Paul Kim,
Yes.
Ken Bruno.
Yes.
Connie Wang,
Yes.
Stephanie Jang. Jason Kim.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf.
Yes.
Jeffrey Wolf.
Yes. You said you need a resolution for retro.
Yes, I need a resolution adopted to increase the amount of hours for Mr. Broverone to complete transition and legal services regarding the matter of KG and AL. I would like a resolution to allow Mr. Broverone to have up to, if needed, an additional 17 hours at the rate of $150 per hour for those two litigations.
Motion.
I'll second that. John, you take.
Any discussion on that? No? Okay, roll call?
Anthony Rotundo.
Yes.
Paul Kim.
Yes.
Ken Bruno.
Yes.
Connie Wang.
Yes.
Stephanie Jang. Jason Kim.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barnabas Wolf.
Yes.
Jeffrey Wolf.
Yes. Anything else from you guys? Okay, so here's the moment of the meeting that I was dreading, just because it's rather sad for me. Unfortunately, and I did introduce this to the board today, I will be resigning as both a board member and president at this meeting. It's not for anything bad. I'm just hoping that, as you know, you cannot be both a board member and an employee. And I feel that someday in the near future, if something were to open up in the district, that I would be much better off serving you guys as an employee, working with you guys once again, than being up here as president of the board. I did always want to be a board member, and as I said during closed session, even when I worked here, I got the job here, and I immediately said I also want to be on the school board, and I found out that you can't do both, you know? And so being here, finally being elected, and then actually getting the responsibility of being the president of the board was a real honor for me. And I think that the thing that I was looking forward to most was standing on stage, giving the speech during the graduations, handing out the diplomas. I was looking forward to that, which now won't happen. But as I said to the board, this isn't it for me. I may not be a board member with you guys, but I will be here at all the Board of Ed meetings, holding your feet to the fire. And I do hope that in the near future, there is a minimum time limit. We'll see what happens from that point. If I can rejoin you guys again and be a colleague of yours, rather than here on the board. So, having said that, this is where my time as your Board of Ed president ends. I thank you guys for everything, and I will be don't believe the photograph, you don't have to retake it, but now at least there's a picture of me being president.
You're lucky.
Yes. Thank you guys for everything. I appreciate it. This is your pen. Yes.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Oh, wait.
In finance.
Okay.
Lou, we would probably advise that we would need a new president moving forward.
Yes, you will, and you can replace Mr., well, I don't know if you can replace him, but you can elect a successor at this meeting as he has given his notice.
And for the record, we did a couple of years ago update a policy for anyone looking to enter or apply for the board. It would be but via an application process. We will advertise that as per our policy. The board would be interviewing the candidate, and a selection needs to be made hopefully in the near future.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to review the board policy, but the statute on the matter is NJSA 18A:12-15. It provides that in fact the board can replace a member who leaves, expires, or is committed to an insane asylum. if in fact they do it before the county superintendent has jurisdiction to do so. The county superintendent has jurisdiction once 65 days have passed and the vacancy has not been filled. So you do have some time, and I believe that the board policy, as you described it, does allow for announcements for interested persons to send in resumes and statements of interest. There would be interviews, and there would be a public meeting at which the new board member would be selected and voted on by the board.
So for the purposes of tonight, we should seek a new board president, though.
That sounds like a good idea.
Any nominations?
I'd like to make a nomination to Jeffrey Yu.
I'd like to make a nomination, Mr. Paul Kim for president.
So we had a second, I think.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second for the,
She seconded for Jeffrey, now second for Paul.
I'm gonna have to decline. Thank you very much, Kenny, for your support, but I won't be able to handle that because of my schedule. It's been very hectic, and I can't commit to that 100%. Now would be the right person. It's a wrong time right now. Of course, as much as Anthony came out with this news, I wasn't expecting this, and Kenny, again, thank you very much.
Okay.
But I'm
just trying to be the right guy for
Well,
this.
absolutely,
Since
thank you.
You were vice president before.
Yeah, absolutely,
Carry on.
absolutely, but I won't be able to dedicate my time. I don't think I had enough time right now. I get home around 10 p.m. every single night, and if I could add something else, it would probably give me a divorce, so.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day, here we go, but, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So I think there was a first and a second for Jeffrey.
Roll call? Roll call?
Okay, so, Paul Kim,
Yes.
Ken Bruno,
Yes.
Connie Wang,
Yes.
Stephanie Jang,
Yes.
Jason Kim,
yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Barb Isco.
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Jeffrey's the new president.
Weren't you in the CP before, by the way? How many years ago was that?
Several.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
Yes, next is audience participation. Can we have a motion to open audience participation?
I'll make a motion to open.
Second? Mr. Wu, thank you. Anyone in the audience?
Melissa Lombardo, welcome back.
Thank you.
Why can't somebody who works in the school system be on a board? Wouldn't it be
Conflict
better?
of interest.
Board attorney is
But we know
most
more.
knowledgeable of that, so.
Under,
Conflict of interest.
under state law, no member of the Board of Education can receive compensation from the board, nor may he have a contract with the board or be interested in any contracts with the board. It's an inherent conflict of interest. So board members may not be paid, they may not have an interest in a contract with the board. And actually, even if the board secretary is a paid position, if a board member holds it, they cannot be paid. So it's pretty much been that way, I think, since the 1940s.
Things have changed.
It's not like it-
Maybe we should start changing that. My next goal.
Actually, it's sort of different, because if you know, the councilmen do get paid. They do get a stipend, I believe, which is something that boards of education do not.
I'm just thinking of internal, like, you know what's going on in the schools. I think it's better, like, you used to be in a school, so you have a better concept, as opposed to somebody who doesn't work in the schools, of what we need and what we don't need and what we, whatever.
I just have one question. Kathy Doheny, co-president of the PPA. The question about the architects, once you hire one, decide on one, are they coming in with proposals? Or is that when you decide what you want to have done? Or have they already, they have a proposal and you're accepting that one?
Kathy, so for the record, and I'm gonna help them, not that, I don't like when they let me help them, but I wanna help them. For the record, Monday morning, Anthony, Jeffrey, and Jason met with Paul Stabile. They reviewed the proposal submitted by numerous architects. They decided that the top three should be heard, should be interviewed. I think in all fairness to the two new firms, we would share with them the long-range facility plan, so they come in on the level playing field with the existing company. They are not gonna come in not knowing our buildings and our needs. Our needs have been updated. A year ago, everything was submitted to the state. We have done much work with regard to what we need. So we hope whomever is selected at next month's meeting, we sincerely hope that they hit the ground running. Hopefully they would concur that the needs we found a year ago are still the needs today, because we know we haven't put enough duct tape on it. But with that being said, we're still talking about major infrastructure needs for our district. And that's gonna be a referendum. That's gonna be a bigger project. But obviously step one is deciding what firm is going to lead us.
If I may add, we want to make sure that whoever we are choosing, they are working as much as we are paying.
Right.
So we want them to answer our phone call right away if we call them up. If we ask them something, we want to respond as soon as possible. So we want to guarantee on those things. So we don't want to hire new architect because they were working for us previous years. We want to hire somebody who can work with us, because we, as he said, we have many things ahead. As a couple of members mentioned, we have a lot of repair, or we have a lot of decision to make. Either it's going to be one way or another. So whoever architect we will hire will make a big impact on our future. So we want to really at least try to get in best fit form to our board. And then also, even though we only got 3, but still everybody, all the board members have to decide what is the best for our situation and our school system. So that's why the whole, even though it's some delay on it, still it's better that we choose the right one. That's the whole idea.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi. I'd like to mention that we are having our fashion show for the Palisades Park High School that the PTSA is hosting. And we are over 80 models right now, which is, the theme is Carnival. Tickets are $40. It would be very nice if the Board of Ed does present themselves there.
Mary, I think there's one little problem, excuse me. There's a night of a board meeting after I bought my ticket and realized that.
Oh, well.
Although we are looking to
You can cancel.
potentially change our board meeting that night.
What's the
For
date?
you, the date is March 21st,
Yeah,
correct?
it's a Wednesday.
We're changing our board meeting.
I had a lot more people.
I paid my ticket already.
At the
I'm sorry.
Fall Heights class. I have another one, calendar. I really, really would love if you guys next year, I know this year it's impossible, but I really would like you to set the graduation date as the date and add in the 2 or 3 snow days. Just schedule them in. It really would help us as Project Graduation. We have no place as of now, because every place is booked. And there's great places that we picked, but they're all booked for those days. Like I know it's the 21st as of now, and if there's another snow day, it's the 22nd. They're booked too. They're booked till all next week. So we are in big trouble.
So I appreciate that, and the sensitivity to this concern is something that I have talked to Mr. Barnabas Wu, who is the calendar committee. We spoke about this earlier in the week. We are meeting with the teachers in 2 weeks.
I'm going everywhere.
Mary, my only concern becomes, and as we are seeing in neighboring districts,
They're all do it.
well, they're also taking away days next week, already taking days away from their calendar. Our calendar speaks to if and when days have to be made up, it's during our spring break in April. I'm still very concerned about the month of March. Even if I was to select a day next week, March could be rough. I have no objection to considering that request as we go into the meeting. Mr. Wu, we can
All our
consider it.
neighboring towns do it. I've called Leonia, Cluse, I did all my research. They all do 3 days. they're
Yes.
built in. And they actually had to add one day on or something, I don't know what they did, but they did something with a vacation day, one of their spring.
So what
breaks.
happens if they don't use their days?
It's
They add it
mentioned
on
in
to
their
Memorial
calendar.
Day,
Right.
and that's how they extend it.
Right, or they give them an extra day like in June, like just as a spare Friday night, Friday off.
Yep.
I
We
mean,
used to have that though.
we did.
If I may ask, if they are concerned as a parents, like me, any particular issue, the way that I'm hearing is you have not other days, but the particular graduation day or nearby. So you're talking about the May calendars is most concern for you, right? Rather than
June.
every
June.
I'm
June,
sorry,
June.
June one, rather than every single month or March or any other month. Then is it possible that informally let them know what is our plan for June, so at least they can pre-plan?
Yeah, so they are aware, Jason, they are aware of the tentative
I already
graduation
counted
date.
September, I know.
We count the date in September.
Right.
We circle it on our calendar, she has to make tentative plans. In the past, when we rented out Felician College for graduation, we had to give them a very large sum of money to lock in the date. Therefore, we built in certain days, but then we also changed our bell schedule and our calendar, our rotation schedule at the high school. And with the rotation and the ABCD, we went with a straight 180 days. In the event there is a no school for any reason, you add one day at the end. I will go on record and tell you, and I mean this sincerely, it's not an issue at the elementary schools. This is a high school problem. I will also explore other schools that have the same bell schedule to see what success they've had.
Because we had so many great places and we couldn't do it.
Okay.
And the money wasn't the issue,
You
it
got
was
it.
the day taken.
No
Because
problem.
we can't have the same place with another school. You
And
know,
like you said, if we put a deposit, we lose that deposit.
there's
We're
one
really
place that
hurt.
wants 5,000 deposit, I can't lose that.
We got it. I'll take care of it.
One
Not
more
promising.
thing, actually, food services. I noticed that, I'm sorry, I never talk about talking. I noticed we always use styrofoam. I wish we would someday, in the near future, I know the high school does a really great environmental, they have a great group.
Yep.
I said, you know, I don't understand why we use so much styrofoam here in Lindbergh. And I know Leonia switched over, they had this big green thing.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's time.
Mary, I had the conversation, ironically enough, Monday morning with Joanne McGarty. She's the superintendent of Leonia. I am going to tell you,
I saw the article.
Pomptonian is on my radar. We would love to do something that is biodegradable and more friendly on our environment. Again, this is something that Pomptonian would have to work with us. I'm sure they would be more than happy to accommodate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
I
else?
love green.
I might as well add something.
As I say, do you want more?
Our ex-president.
Mr. Brillo, do you know how many kids have signed up for track and field for spring?
I was told upwards of 70 signed up.